First section. What does the crying child possess? Now a lot of people think it's Fredbear with Cassidy, but what I see a lot of people tend to forget is that CC died in a hospital a week after the incident. His body wasn't near Fredbear, therefore could not have possessed it, but what was near him? His Fredbear plush, which has a walkie-talkie or tape recording inside, whichever you believe to be the case, which have metal in them. I believe that with CC's death, it allowed William to experiment and understand how this possession works. Him being in a harmless plushie rather than an animatronic, and his murderer being Michael, not William, therefore he would not risk himself getting hurt. Now this may sound confusing, but as we know from Help Wanted 2 and The Grave Orders, Charlie died last. I'm a personal believer in the lump being CC's grave. In Utah and many other states, you don't have to bury your loved ones, and if you don't want to bury them in a graveyard, you can get permission to bury them on private property. Of course, considering the lump is near the forest, William didn't bury CC on private property, but the authorities don't know that, plus his body won't remain there forever anyways. At least that was the plan, but I'll get back to that. I also believe that CC saw something he wasn't supposed to. While I don't believe it was the MCI or a spring lock failure, I do believe he saw a body, that body being Cassidy's spring-locked body. I think Mike accidentally locked CC in the parts and service room with Cassidy's spring-locked corpse. Now I do think Cassidy got spring-locked because what makes her so special is to be the vengeful spirit. This would explain the tuft of hair sticking out of the Fredbear suit in the mini-game of the fourth night, and because this is Mike having an agony-induced dream by CC. I will get to that later. I know Fredbear tells CC to remember what he saw during the second night mini-game, and I think the out-of-order-ness of it could be explained by this being a dream in his hospital bed as he starts to remember certain things during his coma. Of course, it is possible that because it's the parts and service room, no one went in and CC saw it before when it was still fresh, and saw it again when Mike locked him in parts and service again during FNAF 4. He probably thought it was a good spot for him and his friends to hang out at to get away from the kids and his brother, since he seems to want to get away from his brother a lot. But once he walked in and realized the room stunk, he left and thought it better to stick his brother in there instead. He probably thought it would be funny. I believe that is the reason why William gave CC the Fredbear plush, which was to keep an eye on him and make sure he didn't see something he wasn't supposed to again, and figure out what exactly he knows and what he saw if he does see something again. Now that that's explained and out of the way, I will get back to my initial point. I think once William found out the plush was possessed, just like the animatronics seemed to be, he made Mike stay near the plush, maybe even locked him in his room with it to see what would happen. He didn't think it would kill Mike because again it is a plush, not an animatronic, but not only did it serve as a reminder of what Mike did, but it allowed CC to give him nightmares. CC was probably angry that Mike wasn't in jail for involuntary manslaughter. To explain why Michael didn't go to jail, I want to point out that no one was at the birthday party. I believe Mike was supposed to watch his brother, or I don't know, maybe help set up for the birthday, and Mike's friend were present for one reason or another, whether that be because they came by and saw he was there, or he told them to come, or any other plethora of reasons, while William went out with Elizabeth to get the cake or something and had Fredbear and Bon going to keep them entertained or something, maybe warm it up for the party, I don't know. But all you need to know is that no one was there besides the victim and the accidental murderers. Mike probably called the hospital and William got a call. Why would William tell the press after all? That would be bad for business, which would explain why Fredbear still has power in going to it during sister location. It's still open. I think William threatened Mike with jail time, which would be one of the reasons to explain why Mike is so obedient to his father. I think the only person he told about what happened would be Henry. Also, I would like to point out Elizabeth's line, "I know it was an accident," which I think refers to Mike and the bite as baby is talking to him when that is said. I think this helps us understand what their relationship was like before she died. I searched this up to see if anyone else thought so, and I've seen only one other person mention it, so I wanted to get it out there. Anyways, to explain why I think William buried CC in an unmarked grave, I believe it was because he needed his body for later when he put him back together. I believe with the help of CC and Mike, he believed he had an understanding of how ghosts work, so he was very comfortable when he dismantled the animatronics for Remnant. He had to have known about them being possessed because of their previous behavior and Mike's reports about them when he was forced to work there to collect Remnant. But I'm getting ahead of myself. All in all, I think this would explain a lot. Moving on, I believe Henry is the man in the couch in Midnight Motorist, as the person on the couch is called Man on the Couch when you go into the files. I think William didn't want to leave Mike unsupervised so he could watch him and his experiences with the plush and therefore was angry when he escaped. He probably told Henry it was because he didn't want him murdering some other poor kids or something like that, which would explain why Henry wasn't with Charlie. I think he left Charlie at a friend of hers' birthday party while he watched Mike, which would explain why no one noticed she was gone. Also, I think William locking Mike in his room and treating him as if he were to hurt someone even accidentally because of his track record would make Mike doubt himself and his decision-making skills. So again, this another reason why I think Mike is so obedient to his father. A hint of codependency for Mike and a dash of manipulation for William, an Afton family special. Maybe if he behaved he didn't get plushed, which to be honest this is just another flavor of the gas experiment theory. Now you may be asking, where is Elizabeth during all of this, because William should be in the middle of making circus babies so she's not dead yet. I think she's staying with her mom because of Mike and the bite and to get her away from all this. There are parallels between Elizabeth and Vanessa. I do believe one of those parallels is the custody battle that Vanessa's father made her lie in. I think Elizabeth's mom wanted to take her into custody and away from her brother and her father, as well as all of this and anything associated with Fazbear, to protect her. I also want to point out that I think Mike and maybe Cece has a different mom than Elizabeth, because in the character encyclopedia Cece has brown eyes. I know the character encyclopedia is a little iffy, but I think this shows that Elizabeth has a different mom than her brothers. For all I know, they all have different moms. I think this explains why Elizabeth wants to make her father proud, because she rarely has her father in her life because she mostly stays with her mother, but also explains why she didn't do what her father told her to. She doesn't stay with her father long enough, and we can see that he's also pretty neglectful based off of the books. Now this either means that William actually spoils his kids rotten, and that explains why Elizabeth is bratty as she is described as in the character encyclopedia, or this means that Elizabeth's mother spoils her rotten, which would make more sense, but I'm not sure which one I prefer. All in all, I think Elizabeth's mom lost the custody battle, therefore Elizabeth got to stay with her father, therefore she got to go to Circus Baby's opening, therefore you know what happened. Now I also want to point out what William's plan was and why he sent Mike down in the first place. If we look at Mike's voice lines, he mentions that he found it. No, I don't think he's talking about anything in the fake ending, so it has to be something in the canon ending. Now he could be talking about Circus Baby. Now the reason why I think that you would refer to Circus Baby as an it is because I think the animatronic and the soul are two separate things, and the soul has extent to which they can control the animatronic. Now that might not make any sense, but hear me out. In the final speech, Henry tells the animatronics to release the souls as they do not belong to them. Well, this is not enough evidence on its own. If we look at how Circus Baby refers to Elizabeth, her as a separate person, not as herself. Now of course you're probably thinking she was just trying to trick Michael. Take note of her story of what happened the day that Elizabeth died. It's mixed with Elizabeth's memories and her own memories. Elizabeth wasn't there long enough to have known a lot of the things that Circus Baby talks about. In fact, she joined in when the kids had all left. Circus Baby mentions how they were tables that the kids never sat at. She remembers how many kids there were at all times. Circus Baby remembers how some were afraid of her. She remembers how they would run in and out. She even remembers the music coming from the Laura's gallery down the hall and how she was on stage only once, not even for a test run. Of course, there's the fact that Circus Baby mentions how she was covered in glitter and smelled like birthday cake. Circus Baby can't see herself, nor does she have the ability to smell. She's a robot. That was Elizabeth's memory of her. After that, their memories clash. And I assume that William made the thing meant to hold children soundproof, as there's actually some sort of cushioning in it if you look at the blueprints. But how would Elizabeth know that the children were laughing, or that they came in and couldn't hear her? She wouldn't have been able to hear them, and they would not have been able to hear her, but Circus Baby would have known. I do believe that Elizabeth suffocated screaming for help, and as she closed her eyes she thought her father would come save her by the time she woke up. If we look at Circus Baby's claw, we do see that it's a little sharp, so she might have actually bled a little bit. If not, then it didn't get removed and it was meant to hold her in place, therefore she probably didn't bleed too much as she suffocated. I believe that the reason why the AI of Circus Baby can feel is because she has Elizabeth's remnant. I also believe that the other animatronics also have Elizabeth's remnant, as in FNAF 6 in one of Moulton's voice lines they say one big happy family. Now this could be in a sarcastic manner referring to the remnant it has from Elizabeth, so it sees itself as Elizabeth, but not really, because it kinda hates her, and I'm not sure if it actually cares about William. It doesn't seem to, it's mostly just focused on Mike. I think it's referring to itself being the fun times and Mike as one big happy family. Considering Remnant is positive memories, I think it has a lot of Elizabeth's memories of her time with Mike. Or it could be referring to their time with Mike as their skin suit and see him as family. Or maybe it's a mixture of both. I also want to mention that they had two perfectly good skin suits hanging from the ceiling if they wanted to escape that badly. I think the point is they wanted to get William back, but if Circus Baby just needed Mike to escape, then of course she didn't have to lie to them about him being William anymore, but she continued that lie when she already had two of those workers as available options. Maybe she thought if she looked like Mike, who had more time with their father, then maybe he'd love her, but then again that doesn't make any sense because she knows how badly he messed up and most likely seen William's behavior towards Mike, but then again anything could have changed. I don't know what's going through that robot's head. However, this whole robots are actually separated from the soul and are powered by their memories from their remnant, which in all honesty would explain why the robots still follow their programming. And why when William and Charlie, who robots, were damaged. Being Charlie's was damaged in the rain, William's was damaged by his blood, therefore both of their bots don't work anymore, therefore work as husks with no programming. I think that's why their voices are the same ones they had when they're alive rather than being the animatronics. For Circus Baby's case of using Elizabeth's voice, I want to point out that in their blueprints they have the ability to mimic others' voices, and I assume she does have some of Elizabeth's memories which should come along with the remnant, so she probably just said something that she remembers Elizabeth saying, which was the accident voice line. Back to the main point though, I think this explains the "you won't die" scene. The reason why Circus Baby's voice is glitching out is because this is Elizabeth trying to reach her brother and reassure him, as well as giving him some of her remnants so he can live. I wanted to mention that Circus Baby has green eyes because Elizabeth possesses her, but I actually think it's because Circus Baby has a lot of her remnant and that's just the color of Elizabeth's remnant in the first place. Because if it were a case of simple possession, then how come the original's eye colors aren't a natural eye colors? I personally think that remnant actually is associated with the last feeling the person felt before they died. Which would explain why Mike's eyes are a mostly pink magenta. He died with fear being the purple, as he had seen what it had done to Ballora, and there was a countdown to his eventual death, and he knew because of what Enid had told him and also because of common sense that it would hurt, but the reason why his eyes are mostly pink is because he still felt love for his sister and he didn't hate her despite what was going on, unaware that that actually wasn't his sister. Maybe the love that she had for her brother she threw into the mix when she helped him get back on his feet, which would also explain why there's more pink than purple. I mostly get this idea from FNAF AR with the different remnant colors, but I also want to point out that I don't think FNAF AR is canon anymore. I'm a bit confused to buy it. I'm not sure if it is canon anymore. And I know that the novels also may contradict this idea, but I'm not exactly expecting the books and the games to be one-to-one, and oftentimes the book twists a lot of elements, so I could be right, we don't know that. Just to make it clear, I also want to point out that that scientist guy who made the Stitch Wraith also mentions love being a thing. Maybe when you mix different types of remnant together you get a different color or something, I don't know. It's just a not so fully fleshed out thought. Moving on. What exactly is William's plan for sister location? Obviously Mike failed at the other two previous places in William's search to gain remnant. I think the reason why Mike helped him, besides Mike having to be obedient to his father, is that William told Mike that he could bring back Elizabeth and CC if he got enough remnant. Mike obviously didn't know the details, but he could probably make a few guesses. As I'm a firm believer in Mike represents Clara, who he stays in the logbook that he relates to because nobody believes them, and Vlad represents William or Fazbear's entertainment, and the baby represents the murders. He probably sought to piece together what happened, but he was more so desperate to bring his siblings back, so he didn't say anything. Also, he probably didn't want to be thrown in jail. The plan was for Mike to bring Circus Baby to the surface. He wasn't supposed to get hurt or anything, at least not by Circus Baby. As you may have noticed throughout the entire game, Circus Baby is deactivated. Mike's literal job was to bring Circus Baby to the surface. I do believe that Elizabeth's body is still inside Circus Baby. That's also why she was deactivated and why she most likely never got rented out. So once the body was retrieved and William found out a way to separate the soul from the robot. Oh, I forgot to mention the other thing that is most likely that Mike was talking about is the scooper, which he's supposed to retrieve with the remnant from, which would be located in the reservoir as we've seen from the blueprints. I believe the note went a little something like this. Mikey, could you help free your sister? I need you to bring her up here with us. You can do that for me, can't you? If you do while you're down there, could you be a dear and check up on the fun time animatronics as well as do a bit of maintenance on them? I left a hand unit to help guide you during your tasks. You won't miss it, it's labeled, Mike. I need you to do one last thing for me as well, Mikey. I need you to find the scooper, it's located XYZ. Then that's the end of the note as far as Mike is concerned, unaware that there was a back that reads. Then I need you to retrieve the remnant that's located within at the bottom in the reservoir. It should be quite warm. Take the container on the table with you. This makes Mike's little excited. I did it and proud, slightly smug. It was right where you said it would be. Better also, I think the idea that Mike misunderstood William's directions is hilarious, and I'm currently in the middle of a laughing fit whilst typing this. All in all, he was also planning on separating CC from the plushie and then using Remnant to attach his soul to his body. I also want to point out that Remnant is capable of extreme feats of healing, so with enough of it they could heal the siblings' bodies back to working condition. Then all they would have to do is attach their souls. It's actually quite simple when you think about it. But as we know, he was kidnapped during night 4, and I feel like something that a lot of people don't mention is that the cameras were looking for him, so I do think that William was looking for Mike, hoping that he actually didn't get got. Once he realized that Mike wasn't coming back, thinking that he was dead, he went off to the Follow Me minigame and tried to collecting Remnant himself to bring his family back. Now I do think that he was planning on bringing Mike back, because from the books we see that he finds Elizabeth annoying, and based off of this theory as to why CC has spread bare, he might see CC as a liability and he might not like Mike, but he doesn't seem to really like any of his children, to be honest. But it's the small things like when he makes Elizabeth an animatronic, gives CC these words of encouragement though Fredbear, and lets Mike get away with so many things, it's crazy to me. And still decides to involve all of them in his immortality plan, that it almost makes one think that maybe he cares about them in his own neglectful, narcissistic, twisted, non-healthy way. But that's just a FNAF theory. Show's over. I also wanted to apologize for how unorganized this whole thing is. I just kind of wrote the script as I went and never bothered to organize any of this. I just wanted to get the theories out there. I had wanted to add a few other theories, like one of my favorites being the reason William killed Charlie was because he always hated her, as she was the product of Henry's affair even before the divorce. Henry wanted to share custody of their kid, Fazbear Entertainment, and they decided they would compromise and split custody for their kid, but Henry was off taking care of his other family being Charlie, leaving William all alone to take care of their kid by himself. Despite this, he didn't hate Henry too much. It was only after Henry told him it may be time to get rid of their personas that William couldn't take it anymore, and while Henry tried to keep it civil and reconcile, William put on a pound of makeup to hide his two-facedness as he did the murder on Charlie, and retrieved all the bodies of some dead animals and left them in Henry's house so he could no longer have custody over baby Fazbear Entertainment, as he was under investigation by CPS. Then the Muppet puppet marionette left one Fazbears for their brother, maybe it has yet to be determined, and shoved the dead animals into armor and gave them swords so they could vanquish the evil bunny witch. But unfortunately Charlie couldn't participate because the music box made her sleepy, unaware that she was put in the timeout box. Moral of the story: this is a lot of work and I don't want to do it again.